Hello there, I'm Alan Fortney, and if you're watching this video, either you're from my English class, or you're a random person from YouTube, or iFunny, or on Instagram, if I remember to put them on there. But I have a few short stories I'm going to read for you. The first one is just a collection of, I believe, it's a collection of stories I've written off exercises from class and from what I found. And then there's a whole little list of stories involving a little character named Bo. Anyway, let's get this started. The first one is called Church Police. Yeah. Red and blue flash behind me. I turn to my girlfriend, Jana, who is pulling out the registration from the glove box. I ease on the brakes and roll to a stop on the shoulder. I turn down the radio and turn toward the officer. Am I being pranked? I ask the officer, who dressed in crusader armor, with a bishop hat, and sunglasses on his head. His tag read Judas on his right breast pockets, or where it would be. This is no joke, not a joke, sir. License, registration, and religion. Yours. Religion? Yes, do you not have your license of religion, sir? No. When did that become a part of the law? The officer shrugs, I think. I can't tell from the armor. Last week, please, step out of the car. I stare at him like he just claimed he was the Queen of England. Please get out of the car. I won't ask a third time, sir. I kick open the door and crawl out of my car. I get up to the officer. Turn toward the car and put your hands on the hood, sir. I put my hands on the hood, next to the wipers. I really should switch these rusty ones out for a new pair. What am I being charged for? I demand, while the officer pulls out a pair of handcuffs. Driving without religion, sir. I can feel the cuffs click on my left hand. Screw you in this state. I reach with my right hand and twist the windshield wiper off its joint and slam into the officer. The officer backpedals and clatters onto the floor, groaning. I look at the bent in half wiper, then back at the officer. I turn and see Jana has the same look in her face as I do. Fear. I toss the wiper into the back seat, through the window. I look down at the officer. He is unconscious with a nasty cut on his forehead. His sunglasses are snapped in half and shatter on the ground and on his face. I bend over and start looking through his pockets. What are you doing? Jana asks. I jump and see her out of the car next to the trunk. Looking for the keys to this handcuff, I say, holding up my wrist to illustrate. Anyway. You're already in trouble, and now we have to deal with this. I'd rather deal with your father than this cop right now, and he wants me dead. The cop? Jana asks, which rewards her with a groan from the cop. I look at her with a raised brow. You know what I mean, I say as I find the keys. Okay, help me move him. Jana looks at me with saucer eyes. We need to put him away from his cop car, but close enough that he's found. Why away from his car? Jana asks as she grabs the cop's legs. You'll see, I say, pulling out a lighter. Okay, that was the first exercise or story from this little collection. The next one is new paper, new sheets, quite not easy to pull apart. Come on. Come on. I guess I'll read this one. It's a poem made in a vanilla Van, van, Vanillatron format. I can never pronounce it right. Anyway, it is called... Wait, where's the title? No title. And it's missing the... no, it's not. Okay. It's called... I believe it's called A Night on Halloween? Or something like that? Okay. It was the dead of the night. The shadows greet us from below. The costumes on our friends were quite a sight. I told myself that I could skip this light. I knew this was a lie, but I tried with all my might. It was the dead of the night. The taste of the air was dry like sand. I wished I lost my place. I wish I had brought water, for this was a blight. The costumes on our friends was quite a sight. There it stood, a testament to time, a simple pumpkin with a licking light. It was the dead of the night. Leaves greeted us at the end of the streets. We walked on our merry way, covered in sheets. The costumes on our friends was quite a sight. Try our very best, we could not do right. I hit the mailbox with the mighty bat. It was the dead of the night. The costumes on our friends was quite a sight. Okay. The next one, if I can pull these apart again, is... Sure, I'll read about the cat. This is called A Cat's Typical Day. This is based off my cat. He is... The best word I can describe it is a little crazy. Okay. Ears and tail twitching, eyes are a metronome. A pair of yellow eyes trace the birds gliding. From his perch on the window, a cat arches his back, tail curving like a U. His gaze turns back to the birds, which have flown away. Bored, he hops down and walks to his favorite toy. A little mouse with an odd, yet addictive smell lays at his feet. Tentatively, he taps it with one paw. It doesn't move. Lusting for the smell and taste, he bites into it. Slowly, his eyes widen from thin slits to moons of the abyss. The colors in egg-white room with brown furniture start to move. The floor feels sharp and slithering beneath his paws. Unable to stand the feeling anymore, he runs at full speed at the chair. His sanctuary was false. Unable to stand the feeling anymore, he runs at full speed at the chair. I just repeated myself. Okay, I'm going to start that one over. Ears and tail twitching, eyes are a metronome. A pair of yellow eyes trace the birds gliding. From his perch on the window, a cat arches his back. Tail curving like a U, his gaze turns back to the birds, which have flown away. Bored, he hops down and walks to his favorite toy. A little mouse with an odd, yet addictive smell lays at his feet. Tentatively, he taps it with one paw. It doesn't move. Lusting for the smell and taste, he bites into it. Slowly, his eyes widen from thin slits to the moons of the abyss. The colors in egg-white room with brown furniture start to move. The floor feels sharp and slithering beneath his paws. Unable to stand the feeling anymore, he runs at full speed at the chair. His sanctuary was false. The fabric grabbed at his feet, trying to hold him prisoner. Heat starts to surround him as the cloth bars have twisted around his feet, encroaching further on his body. With all his might, he kicks at the polyester monster. The blanket yields a bit, giving him a chance at his freedom. His claws dig into the fabric, giving him enough leverage to send him flying over the top. He lands with a graceful thud. Looking back briefly, making sure it didn't follow, he turned to look ahead and was greeted with darkness and pain. A loud bang resounds through the house. Worried, a mother puts the clothes back in the dryer. Turning the corner, she sees the spectacle of the cat. Dazed and confused, standing wobbly at a door that was previously shut. "Sylvester, you goofy cat," she says scoldingly. The cat with white spots merely glances at her before bolting into the formerly shut room. He bounds up onto the bed and climbs under the covers, cuddling up to the dad. Shivers plaguing his body. Yeah, that was the time he was on catnip. I was in the chair. And I believe that's it for this little packet. Next one is the stories with Bo. It's going to be a little bit dull at the beginning because I'm going to be explaining, like the sheet has me explaining it. Bo Oaken is the name of the protagonist in the story to come. Bo is a simple man of 6.5 feet in height. His hair is a stark white, just like the other Oakens before him. But he changed it to a maroon hue, just because he likes it. He has a rough face due to a few fights he had in the past, which resulted in broken bones and his face. His attire is normally dress, shirts, and fitted pants, but occasionally he wears sci-fi attire like Star Wars shirts or Doctor Who bow ties. He runs a game shop in Oslo, Norway. Bo Oaken was born on March 17th, 1990 in Oslo, Norway, to Gannon Oaken and Katriona Oaken. He grew up with a brother, Gunther, and a sister, Freya. The day he was born was also St. Patrick's Day. Bo always asked his father why he had this name. Gannon always replied, "I could have named you Bacon, 'cause you cried like a little piggy, but I named you after your grandfather, Bo." His grandfather, just like his father, was an antique collector and seller. Old Bo never sold his antiques, but was out looking for a good piece of history. Gunther never cared for the family business. But not young Bo. He took to it like a fish to the water. One day, when Bo was about 8 years old Bo and young Bo were looking at the contents of a run-down, partially collapsed house old Bo bought. Old Bo had already explored the house before his grandson, but left a few dollar coins in the cabinets, drawers, and around the house for his grandson to find. Old Bo followed his grandson around the house, casually pointing out the drawers and cabinets as they reached them through the rubble. As they ate lunch, young Bo walked around the dining room, tapping at the hanging paintings. Bo loved the rough texture of the painting frames. He suddenly stopped at a painting of a small boat with a child in it. The painting didn't look valuable, but the frame was odd. It was smooth and cold like metal. With a peanut butter sandwich in mouth, young Bo ran over and tugged at his grandfather's sleeves. Knowing his grandson was a smart boy, Old Bo followed. Old Bo carefully touched at the edges of the painting. At the top of it, Old Bo found what felt like a light switch and flicked it. A panel of the wall fell back but didn't move any more. With a grunt, Old Bo kicked it down. Hidden behind the false wall was one of the few walls standing in the house. The two found a study, which held 2 old World War II Nazi uniforms and an undamaged bookshelf that held many priceless books, as well as an oddly undamaged copy of Mein Kampf. When Old Bo saw it, he almost threw it right into the fireplace, which was alit. Oddly. The only reason he didn't was his grandson. The wide eyes told him not to do it, or not to do it right now. The two enjoyed the rest of their lunch inside their little trove. After that, Old Bo was would always take his grandson to every deal and purchase as a fresh pair of eyes. Old Bo taught him all the tricks of the trade. Young Bo planned to follow the family business, but times changed, and so did his mind. He went from a world of prices to a world of fantasy and magic. After he bought a game shop, all but his sister disowned him. Okay, that's the leading up, I believe. I hope this is not jittery, but... Okay, now this is a bit of a sad story, but here we go. The doors opened without a creak. The coat rack was overflowing. Oh wait, this next story is on. It's called "A Kin and His." This next story is a mixture of. Nope. This next story is about Bo's grandfather. I'll just read it. The double doors opened without a creak. The coat rack was overflowing with jackets. New and fancy, worn and old, tall and small. Faint crying could be heard in the reception room. The gentle push. The woman next to him motioned for him to move. He pushed open the door to the reception room and was greeted by a fist to the face. So you actually showed up, the man growled, towering over him. I had to come, he said, holding his face. Who invited you then? Gunther said. I did. A voice said at the doorway. There stood a lady with short white hair. Gunther looked at her with surprise. You invited him, Freya? He basically killed Grand Bo. The moment he broke his heart. But he is our brother, and loved him just as much as we do, Freya said as she helped Bo to his feet. Gunther glared at Freya, but flinched when he saw Bo's eyes. His eyes were shadowed and covered. Unlike the normal look of happiness and challenge, there was no fight. Gunther flinched when he heard Bo's voice. I want to see him, Bo croaked. He was no louder than a whisper, not an angry retort like Gunther expected from him punching him. He stepped aside and Bo almost collapsed again at what he saw. It was old Bo, laying in a cedar coffin surrounded by violets and lycovalen, a flower native to Norway, and also his favorite. Freya supported him and escorted him to the casket. Bo shook, trying his best to hold back his tears. He knew his family was glaring knives at him, but he didn't care. Fumbling, he pulled out a treasure that he found with his grandfather, an old book from the inside of his jacket. He gently placed it next to old Bo's body. The title was worn, but still read Mein Kampf. Holding his face, Freya escorted him back to the entrance, and at the threshold of the door, Bo held Freya, unable to stop the tears from falling. Okay, that was that story. It was brief and still a little sad, but it keeps going. The next story is A Lost Soul and His Kin. It's a continuation from that stuff over there. The door jingled and the front door jingled and jangled. Bo looked up from red mark on his face and drool dried on his face. His brief nap on the counter. He was a kid, about 14 years old, and from the look on his face, Bo could tell that something wasn't right. The kid kept his hand hidden in his jacket pocket and had his hood up, even though it was just a cloudy day. Bo watched the kid as he seemed to be looking at the magazine racks, but stopped at the novelty instruments. Bo dragged himself off his chair and approached the kid. keeping his phone at the ready. The kid was just staring, almost transfixed, at the vessel flute section, particularly a little Cian ocarina. Bo said, startling the kid. The kid turned quickly, revealing a short pocket knife clenched in his hand. I want that ocarina, the kid stammered, shaking a bit. Bo stared at the kid, then yawned, making the kid stare at him. Aren't you scared? The kid said, watching Bo come out from behind the counter. Why do you want it? Bo said, bending down to look the kid right in the eyes. It looks cool, the child said, glaring back at him, pointing the knife at Bo. Don't you want food instead? Bo said. The kid's eyes went wide. How did you... Anyone could tell from your smell alone that you have been on the streets a while. I mean, no offense. Wait here, and if you take that ocarina, the alarms will go off, and the front door will lock. Bo said, walking toward the back. Bo disappeared behind the curtain, and the child walked over to one of the many tables in back. The kid sat down and looked around. The front desk held old game consoles like the game Prism, as well as games to them. It also had little statues that were all similar in size except for one. A ceramic white stag, draped in cracks and chips, stood proud with a single splintered white oak horn. A leather book torn in half laid on top of the front desk, along with a spool of thread and a needle. On the far wall, many swords hung, but most were made of plastic and oddly huge. The real ones that could rust, hung above the front counter. Many aisles lined the shop. Some obviously held old suits of armor and old furniture since they poked out above the aisles. One had many toys. Some looked fluffy like clouds. Another held many books and comics. The aisle that had instruments also had many others like violins and saxophones. The oddest aisle was the one with everything in it. It had canned food like soup, gallons of water, and many plain clothing like t-shirts, pants, and plain underwear. The kid was staring at one of the rusted shields hanging haphazardly by one strap above the front window when Bo came back out. He's holding a covered tray and a soda. The kid turned and watched anxiously as Bo approached him. Here you go. Enjoy. Bo set the tray in front of the kid and pulled off the cover. The sweet aroma of ham and gravy filled the shop. The plate held a mound of mashed potatoes covered in gravy, and besides the mound was a few slices of ham and lefse. If you're wondering what lefse is, it's a flatbread used from Norway. Anyway, how did you make this so quickly? The kid asked. Microwave leftovers. Enjoy. The kid looked at Bo, who held a fork and a spoon out to him. The kid took it and then proceeded to devour the meal. Bo sat down across from him. Slow down. You might choke. The kid responded by chugging the soda. Mind if I see your knife? Bo asked, causing the kid to stop and stare. Don't worry. I'll give it back to you. The kid shrugged and placed it on the table. Bo picked it up and examined the blade. The knife had many chips in it and was already starting to rust at the hilt. At the bottom of the hilt, which was white oak, there was a little white stag carved into it. Bo immediately slammed the knife into the table, startling the kid. Where did you get this? Bo demanded. From you. The kid stammered. Bo got up and walked over to the kid and stared at him, who pulled back at their hood, revealing white hair and freckles. He stared, squinting, at the kid, Bo felt that he'd seen this kid somewhere before. His eyes suddenly went wide and started to mist over. "Little Brogny?" Bo said. "Hey, cousin." I don't do a good female voice. Anyway, Bo picked her up in a big bear hug. Brogny started to cry into Bo's shirt, hugging him as if her life depended on it. Both held the embrace for a while before breaking it. What happened, Brogny? Did your father kick you out? If he did." "No, he didn't, but Mom did." Bo looked at Brogny, mouth agape. Your mother? She did this?" Bo asked. "Yes, she said that she couldn't have a Kiki for her daughter. I've been on the street a few months now, I think." "Kiki?" Bo asked, but from how Brogny showed her rainbow wristband, Bo's face became still and stiff. Then a smile stretched across it. "Well, you can stay here as long as you want. Mi casa is su casa." Bo flung his arms wide, indicating the shop. Brogny's face lit up and she hugged him again. "Thank you, Bo," Brogny said, muffled by Bo's jacket. "No problem. By the way, do you need clothes?" Brogny looked up and nodded. "Okay then, I will see if I have something for you for tonight and tomorrow. Then we go shopping," Bo said, walking her around the counter. Bo held the curtain up when the phone rang. "Go up the stairs and check the dressers in the room on the right. I have to take this." Brogny bounded up the stairs. Bo picked up the phone on the third ring. "Welcome to Big Bo's Games. How may I assist you?" "You really need to change that store name, Bo." "Hey, Freya." "Nah, it works. I mean, no other shop has this name." "Why are you calling so late?" "Gotta check in with my favorite brother once in a while," Freya gargled. "You got bad reception?" Bo asked. "Yeah, the landline is being worked on, so only cell phones work. Maybe." "You could have texted." Freya stifled a laugh. "And get a reply a month later? No thanks. I prefer talking, then I can hear your voice. Can you come visit?" "Freya, you know why I can't." Bo exasperated, sitting down in his chair. Freya sighed. "I know, but I haven't seen you since the funeral." Bo heard a loud crash on the other end of the line. "Freya? What happened?" There's no response. "Freya?" Then the phone cut out. Well, that's it for the stories. Hopefully this video isn't too long, and I hope you enjoyed whoever watches this. So, have a nice day, and I'll see ya.